Welcome to Safe Money Retirement Radio with your host, Tim Wood. Tim is a certified financial fiduciary and a no-market risk retirement and income specialist, and the owner of SafeMoneyRetirement.com, primarily serving Western North Carolina, East Tennessee, and Southwest Virginia. But he's sought after nationally for his expertise in helping people secure their retirements. Mr. Wood is a licensed life insurance professional in multiple states and specializes in working with people who are near retirement and those who have already retired with wealth management, income planning, and asset protection strategies. And now, here to talk with you about no market risk retirement planning, your host, Tim Wood.
Welcome to Safe Money Retirement Radio. I'm Tim Wood, an asset and retirement protection specialist. I recently had the honor of interviewing top US Economist and bestselling author Tom Hegna about all the craziness going on in the world today with taxes, with the economy, with retirement plans. So let's listen in to some of that interview right now. In your books, you explain that retirees face many more risks than they're typically aware of. Can you go over some of those for them?
Well, retirees face so many risks today. I mean, there's market risk. It's hard to believe there's market risk because the market's just been going up and up and up. But, people don't realize the Japanese stock market has been down for over 30 years. The European stock market has been down for over 20 years. So at some point when this printing and spending ends, this market is not going to keep going up. And that's a big risk for retirees who've got a lot of money in their market. There's withdrawal rate risk. They might take out too much money. They can eventually run out of money. There's a big one called the order or sequence of returns risk. I'm on the record saying that's going to wipe out the retirements of tens of millions of baby boomers, and most of them don't even know what it is. And we can talk about that more later. There's the risk of inflation, which was kind of dead for 30 years. Now we see it every day when we go to the gas pump or we go to the grocery store. But long term, I think deflation is still a risk, believe it or not. And again, we can get into that later if you want. You might need long-term care. You might die. They're going to raise your taxes. And then, of course, the number one risk in retirement is longevity risk. And why? Because it multiplies all the other risks. The longer you live, the more likely the market will crash. The longer you live, the more likely you'll take out too much money. The longer you live, the more likely you'll see inflation, the more likely they'll raise your taxes, and the more likely you're going to need long-term care. And so, what you really need to do is you need to mitigate that longevity risk. And that's what I talk a lot about, and that's what I write about in my books.
I totally agree, Tom. From my experience, taking the risk of running out of money before you run out of life off the table is a complete game changer for those in retirement. Your books have become bestsellers across the United States and Canada. What prompted you to start writing books on retirement planning?
Yeah. So Paychecks and Playchecks was my first book, and I always tell people I was a reluctant author. I never want to write a book. I didn't dream of writing a book. It wasn't on my bucket list, so why to write a book? Well, here's why. Because right now, if you were to talk to 50 different financial advisors and ask this very simple question, how should I retire, or what should my retirement portfolio look like, you know what you're going to get? You're going to get 50 different opinions of what you ought to do. Well, you see, retirement's been studied in depth by PhDs all over the world. People like Dr. David Babel of Wharton, Dr. Moshe Milevsky of Toronto, Dr. Menachem Yari of Israel, Dr. Michael Finke, Dr. Wade Pfau of the American College, Dr. Robert C. Merton, a Nobel Prize winner published in the Harvard Business Review. Well, guess what? I've read the research. And you know what the research says? There are not 50 optimal ways to retire. There's really one optimal way to retire, and that's not my opinion. It's based on mathematical, scientific, and economic facts. So I try to keep my opinions out of it. I just share with consumers the research of the leading PhDs around the world because there is an optimal way to retire based in math and science. Now, let me just say for a minute, what's the difference between optimal and best? How come I don't say it's the best way to retire? Well, because simply nobody knows what's going to be the best way to retire. I mean, if oil goes to $10,000 a barrel, we should put our money in oil. If gold goes to $10,000 an ounce, we should have put our money in gold. If Bitcoin goes to $1 million a Bitcoin, we should have put our money in Bitcoin. Nobody knows what's going to be the best. And so what math and science does when there's all these different variables, it looks for the optimal. And in layman's term, the optimal means what is most likely to be the best and will never be the worst. That's optimal. So your best chance at having the best retirement is optimal. And that's what I talk about, and that's what I write about.
I completely understand what you're saying, Tom. Our listeners do get different opinions from literally everyone they talk to, and I agree that going back to the math and science is always the smartest way to make a solid plan. Well, folks, I'm sure you're excited to get more info. If you have any retirement savings and you're at or near retirement but need protection from market risk and a plan to keep you from outliving your money, call me now for your complimentary copy of Tom's book, Don't Worry, Retire Happy. You can reach us at 844-905-SAFE. Tom's book will give you the information you need for a financially stress-free retirement, and I will show you how to turn that information into action. Again, our number, 844-905-7233. The concept of having an income floor is not something you hear talked about in the mainstream financial media. Now, would you please explain that, Tom?
Okay, so an income floor just simply means cover your basic living expenses in retirement with guaranteed lifetime income. So figure out how much money do you need to cover your housing, your food, your clothing, your cell phone, your internet, your golf green fees, whatever you normally do in retirement, that should be covered with guaranteed lifetime income. And as we said, there's three sources: Social Security, pension, and then some type of lifetime income annuity, because all of those are income annuities.
Thanks, Tom. My listeners know I talk about an income floor all the time, but like you said, many hosts out there don't, and it's just great to hear your definition of it. Is there a certain age where you think it's too risky for someone to have their retirement money in the stock market?
You know, when people ask me, when is the riskiest time to invest? Many people in their minds think it's when they're 87. And they're kind of shocked when I say, well, it's when you're 57 to 67. And they go, what do you mean? You know, because I was always taught that the older you are, the more conservative you should invest. I was taught that 80-year-olds should invest their money more conservative than 60-year-olds, and 60-year-olds should invest their money more conservative than 40-year-olds. That's what I was taught. I'm sure most of you were taught that too. That's not what the research shows. The research shows that the riskiest time to invest is right before or right after retirement. Because if you lose money in that box, it can devastate your whole retirement. People who lose money early in retirement can have their retirement absolutely devastated. People who lose money in their 80s and 90s has much less of an impact on their retirement than people who lose money early in retirement. And that's why baby boomers need to put some guarantees in their portfolio. I'm not against the stock market at all, but I'm against having a huge amount of your money in the stock market, especially when you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s. That is not the place to have the majority of your money. You can certainly have money in the market, but you shouldn't have the majority of your money in the market, or you're going to be very disappointed at some point in your retirement. I can promise you that.
Yeah, Tom, as you and I have discussed before, and my listeners have heard me mention before, that's exactly what happened to my dad when he retired. All of his money was in the market, and that's why he lost over 75% of his retirement within the first 4 years of his retirement. Stay tuned to Save Money Retirement Radio for more questions and answers with top US economist and best-selling author Tom Hegna. Well, I'm about out of time, and I would like to thank you for listening to Safe Money Retirement Radio. If you're serious about your financial future, give me a call, and together we'll get your retirement savings on the fast track to accumulate while reducing exposure to market risk. Thanks for listening, and until next time at the same time, I'm Tim Wood, reminding you to stay safe so you can step into a secure future.
You've been listening to Safe Money Retirement Radio with your host, Tim Wood. Find out how to guarantee that your hard-earned money is safe with locked-in returns that will never go down due to market risk, so you can have the future that you deserve. Call Tim Wood now for your free copy of his #1 best-selling book, Safe Money Retirement, Your Game Plan for Success, along with the free Safe Money Retirement Information Kit at 844-905-SAFE. That's 844-905-7233. Or visit him online for more details at safemoneyretirement.com. The preceding information does not represent tax, legal, or investment advice. Surrender charges apply to base contracts. Optional lifetime income benefit riders are used to calculate lifetime payments only and are not available for cash surrender or in a death benefit unless specified in the annuity contract. Fees may apply. Guarantees are based on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the insurance company. No information presented today should be acted upon without meeting with a qualified and licensed professional. Obviously, by calling us now, you are just taking the first step towards protecting your retirement. It's important that you read all insurance contract disclosures carefully before making a purchase decision. Rates and returns mentioned on this program are subject to change without notice.
Money makes the world go around. She's around. The world go around. She's around. The back of my head.
You're listening to Safe Money Retirement Radio.
Money, 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 money.
Did you know that your Social Security could be much higher depending on what option you choose for claiming your benefit? Social Security income is not as simple as some think. When should you take it? Should you only take your spouse's benefit while you continue to work? Deciding how to receive your Social Security benefit can make your head spin. Don't decide about your retirement without the facts. Call us now and ask for your complimentary Social Security guide at 844-905-SAFE. That's 844-905-7233.